This is the last of the series here for my couples compilation. I had this lofty idea over the summer. Basically what I've got here is insight into the couples, trying to get an interior understanding to help out couples understand what their partner may be going through. So a little insight into the spiritual realm of each sign of the zodiac. So this is what I'm trying to illuminate in order to help the partner be more compassionate towards the other, understand things that they themselves may not be able to convey. Hoping that that comes forth in some kind of manner, whether it's just to let that partner see that struggle they're going through, and then even if they're silent, witness to it, they can still understand in a more compassionate way. And that's my goal here, is to kind of join these couples together, help them out and see where it leads. Now, what I do is with most of my readings, I split the masculine and feminine energies. So I do this for each sign, and I start with the feminine, so I will do so. We are with the Capricorn, so the Capricorn female, I break it down into 3 tarot cards, basically giving their character and where they're sitting. Then I've got 3 love cards and 3 sex cards, so it kind of goes down the ladder here into the deep stuff. The first card I get for the Capricorns, the females, is the 8 of Cups. So we have the Capricorns in a situation where they've put a lot of work into something and they are in search of something else. So they've worked to fill all these cups, and now they are turning their back. I mean, it could be, in a sense, it could be a leaving of a relationship or tiring of putting any more effort into it. So you could have where you may not have a leave, you know, a physical leave of the relationship, but you're really not having the energy to put any more into it. So the 8 of Cups. Then the next card I have is the 4 of Swords. So the 4 of Swords, this guy's really, he's in a meditation zone, right? And the darkness falls upon him, yet he is lit by the swords that are kind of guarding him, his back, you know, and a sense of imposed, I want to say patience, but imposed time out, you know, taking the time to just kind of mull things over. That's really what I get from this card. So turning away to really go, may not be inside. It may just be a pause to just decompress from, you know, whatever. I don't feel a great heavy weight of stress, but I feel like a break needed nonetheless. And then the end card is the 7 of Pentacles. So that's really the harvest card, waiting to pick your fruits, you know, but it's almost like she's got a basket there, but she's not quite filled it. So it's like, is it ready yet? Can I pluck it? Is it ripe? So waiting for that perfect moment to pick. There's a harvest here, but just waiting on the right moment to strike. So it's interesting because we have the energy going in the area of the harvest. You know, the 8 of Cups is the cloaked figure is looking towards the harvest. So there may be a situation where they are kind of waiting on something in order to move forward, but yet are still in wait, but patiently and also mindfully such. So it's not such a struggle because it's decided that this is what I need to do and this is what I'm going to do. So they're doing that in that way. So really kind of a different energy for the Capricorns. The women are really turning to something that they feel is going to bear fruit. They're just waiting for the right moment in which to do so. And heavily in weight. But it's self-imposed weight, so it's good. It's okay, it's warm, it's easier to take when it's our decision, right? So if I move on to the love side of things, the first card I get is new love. So that's interesting. Embrace this new opportunity of love that is here, and this may pertain to work opportunities or spiritual growth. Now, that may be true, but I'm feeling there is more of a sense here of new love. Why? Because I have underneath it in the sexual realm of things, I have the Ace of Cups as well. Now, I get a sense that some of these Capricorns have not necessarily been in a relationship before, so they're not really leaving another relationship to get into or come towards a new relationship. I feel like it's more of a process on their own that they've dealt with, maybe coming to fruition for, maybe doing some intuitive work in that way. I'm trying to remember the Capricorn, and it's not quite coming off my mind here, but nonetheless turning their focus to harvest in a new direction. And I feel that new direction is new love, the opportunity for love to come in. I feel like they understand that there's a situation or a waiting period that has to happen, whether it's from their end of things or waiting on the other person. I feel like there's an awareness of that. So the next card I get on the love side is show simple acts of kindness. So a simple act of kindness can energize you and bring happiness to those around you. So don't underestimate the power of kindness to get through to someone that you care about, especially if it's someone that's in your field of view where you're just wanting to show that. I feel like these women are kind of scared to show their colors. So don't be afraid to do that with kindness. It's absolutely will be received well. The last card I get is slow down. When you are excited, you get ahead of yourself. Take time to allow things to unfold. It's interesting because there's, there's this turning away to go in a direction. Seeing there's a harvest there that needs to be plucked, but we got to take our time. Taking the time, sitting in patience, and then there's a slowdown. So I feel like the slowdown is not necessarily, I feel like there's a greater understanding here from above, intuitively, about needing patience and having time that needs to elapse here in order to you can't just pounce. So I feel like the slowing down is really a slowing down in order to, I feel like you recognize there's a new opportunity here, but, showing active I think you have to kind of slow down to smell the roses and really get engaged with your senses. I think that's more what the slowing down is about. I think there may be too many areas where these Capricorn women are busied up, and even though they have their eyes, their sights set on a new love, I feel like they could be missing some opportunities to really bear fruit for them, to prove in a better, deeper way to that partner. They may be missing that. So be careful to slow down for that, because sometimes if you go too fast, you can completely miss a good opening, a good beginning when it needs to come in. Although you're diligent and are watching for it, I feel like there's an opportunity there that could be missed. So slow down a little bit and you won't miss out on that. And we get into the sex side of things. The first card we get is the Ace of Cups. So that is new love and new emotions, new sharing, intimacies in a very satisfying way. So it's just good, grounded sex life. So it does lead to the physical side of things. This new love, it's going to go there. The next card we get is the Six of Cups. So interestingly enough, we have a situation where we're thinking about a past love, spending too much time dwelling on something that is past. The next card we get is the Two of Pentacles. That's an interesting card. We have an element here of surprise, but I feel in this case it might be shocking. A little bit, not only surprising, but like shocking in a way. So I don't know, this new love, since we have the Six of Cups here, it may be a past love coming to bear fruit in your present. So someone from your past coming forward that you actually have thought about and wondered about, and then in the midst of this new love, it's kind of there, and you're like, oh boy, I wasn't expecting this. Kind of dumbfounded, not knowing what to say, what to do, or how to act. Because, one, because there are feelings there that need to be dealt with that maybe haven't been dealt right through. Because there's a turning of the back, it may have been that relationship. Though I see there's a gap here in time, nonetheless there may have been some things that have been worked on, but maybe the emotions throughout the whole process of moving on have not been. So to whatever degree that pulls you back, you be aware that there's some surprises coming on the heels of this new love that's in your life. Feel though that is very good and very emotionally invested, which is something that you've kind of not had all along. So it feels good and right and true. So be aware that this is a conscious decision from this point to not go back into a rut, because we really are trying to evolve to higher degrees, not backwards. So that's a warning. So for the tips for the for the Capricorn women, how to get on their good side, it seems like they've got enough on their plate. So if you are on the outside looking in, you might want to take a back seat, because there's, you know, get some popcorn and a drink, because there's a few surprises coming. Now, if you're already in the mix and you're starting to flutter your way in, you may be that new love that's on the way. And be careful, again, because there's going to be a little bit of a loop here. I feel like it's nothing that, it's just really going to be for the Capricorn woman, it's going to be shocking. Not to a high degree, about a 5 or a 6 on the shock level. Where you're like, oh man, it's just going to really bring you to a point. I feel like it's a tester. Do I want to be here, or do I want what I had? And that's really what it is. It's the new future, the unknown, or the past of what could have been. And we just really need to, from this point, take warning of that, because we have been there once before. So I'll let that lay in the air like that. I think there's a lot of time here to think about things. You got to slow down and let it really sink in. There is a mindfulness about the past. So I think as long as you're going about that in the right ways and true to your emotions and true to your heart and mind, I think you'll get somewhere. This new love seems to be great. So I'm hoping that that takes off for you. So for the coupled, again, tumultuous stuff here, but nonetheless, I think you're on a straight-laced path. Just the universe has a few monkey wrenches to throw at you, but I feel like it will be dealt with. It just may be a little jarring for you, a little bit upheaval that it throws in there. And for the singles, I feel like, you know, there may be some lessons in the past that you've had to deal with, but nonetheless, you have new love coming in, and hopefully it irons through that new relationship. It irons some things out, and watch for the surprises coming through, because there's going to be something that you know, you got to wait time here, but once you slow down, you're going to realize and see things a lot clearer. So that's really the key to diffusing all of this in the right way, is slowing down, taking it in, and then making decisions, because they really do have a clear head. They just have to come from it most days instead of being so busy, and that is really where they're sitting. So now for the Capricorn males, what are they up to? Okay, so the first card I get for the Capricorn males is the 5 of Cups. So that's a lot of grief, sorrow, regret, and just full-on pain. I mean, the 5 of Cups is, I mean, we have a turning away here, and on the male side it could be a rejection, feeling rejected in that way of not having a relationship. And interestingly, we have a pair here. So on the other side of that, for the male, we have the Queen of Cups, which she's basically, you know, the Queen of Cups is all about emotions, intuition, water flowing, emotions flowing. The cup is really got kind of a little bit of a water storm going on in it, and it's kind of symbolizing that she's yet to kind of control those emotions on a higher level, but working towards that and using her intuition to guide her. And the lotus there, you know, of higher things. But the storm in the cup really symbolizing there's a lot there that needs to be worked towards balancing those emotions out. Now we end up with the Knight of Cups. So the Knight and the Queen are a pair, and whenever I see a pair in a reading, this is really like a soulmate type thing. It's interesting to me because we have the Knight of Cups looking directly at the Queen of Cups, yet the Queen of Cups is really caught up in all of her emotions. And we have yet to know where that comes from, so we'll get into the reading here. But the Knight of Cups, nonetheless, you know, excitable and charging forward and wanting to, and his, like I said, I mean, his eyes are just, in the reading, the way I've laid the cards, heading straight towards the Queen. So there might be a situation where we have a Queen and a King here that are not matched. For some reason, they're separated. And this is causing turmoil. Could be as easy as that. So now if we go to the love side of things for these Capricorn males, the first card we get is Love Endures. Love does not give up or lose faith. Love is hopeful and withstands every situation. Now we have this on the heels of the Five of Cups. So there's a lot of hopeful, you know, I mean, these cards are full of visuals here. And I mean, so much so I'd need a magnifying to get through. But they're like, look at the moon and look at the seashell. Like, you know how you use the seashell, you put it up to your ear and you hear the sound of the ocean. So it's almost like they're trying to say, there's echoes of love here. We just have to keep listening. Keep our ears open for that. Love is hopeful. Keeping your head up, so to speak, I guess. The next card we have is Have Patience. Love is patient and kind always. Under the Knight of Cups. So, feeling very strongly this Knight of Cups has to have his patience in order to gain a new love, or love of the woman that he is so focused on. The next card that I get is Act as if your partner is here. Whether you have someone in your life or not, act as if they are with you, and you will always consider them. We have, you know, grief and sorrow, and we have a couple that one is really, they're not looking towards each other. He's looking at her and she is really distracted, but she's definitely not facing him in the way the cards are sitting. And there's grief over that. There's a feeling, a deep piercing that he feels. And yet he has to stay strong, have patience, and act as if the partner is here. I feel, I don't want to give false hope to people, but there's obviously a reason these cards have come in this way. But nonetheless, we'll move on to the sex side and see what happens. The sex card that we get, the first one is the Tower. Man, this is an active card in my readings here. The Tower has been through almost every sign on one side or the other. So there may be something here where there was, you know, we may have had a situation where a lover was taken away by a third party, or there's a jealousy that this knight is having for the queen maybe being with someone else. But nonetheless, there's a third party here, and there's very much an anger and high, and it's all on the side of grief. The next card I get is the Five of Wands. So this really is a man overlooking a couple that is, you know, enjoying themselves and expressing themselves sexually. So there's a sense here that, you know, this man may be watching his queen being with someone else, you know, and just going over all of those emotions. And I mean, having these two cards in the same, you know, in line, it's like we have the Tower, which is there to clear things away, clean the slate, so to speak. But it really, in this deck, brings up all the mud, all the muck, all the emotions, all the anger, all the jealousy, all the hatred. So I feel like that's in line with, so there's a lot of resentment and hate and anger and jealousy, all of that bad negative stuff, it's all there. but it seems to be behind. It's not what the man is focusing on. He's trying to focus back toward her, but there's a lot of emotional energy there that's really seeping out in the sex factor of this. So we have all of these things, but it's evolving to a passive. There's a very active, like, you know, energy with the Tower, almost as if this man has been either rejected or been the third wheel and is basically still keeping an eye on this woman and not letting him out of her sight. And then we end with the 7 of Cups, which is really, I mean, this is a card that can go in many of ways, but I feel like because of the 5 of Wands being before the 7 of Chalices, I feel like it's almost an imaginary vision of where he wants to be with her. I feel like the tortoise is as a symbol of the longevity that he wants, but yet there's a real light feeling. Even the colors in this card, there's a lot of white, a lot of dreaminess to it. It can symbolize things that are of the imagined nature. It can be something that is a little off grounding, not quite in reality. So it can be that dreamy romantic scene that, you know, just knocks your socks off. But are we really grounded in reality through this? A lot of these other cards, you know, there's a lot more earthy tones to them. And this one's more white and light and airy. So I get a sense of that. That's more intuitive. I'm working here because she's clearly turned away and looking at her emotions, and they're in turmoil. So she's, you know, she's definitely, like I say, not turned in his direction. There's a lot of emotional energy that I feel has not been dealt with. I also feel that there's an active part in being possessed by her. I mean, these two are a pair, a match. And I feel if there was a rejection, and I don't really get a sense as to where that came from, I just feel like it's pitiful. It's pitiful what happened here, and I just don't know what it is. But yet I don't get a high sense to direct, like either one of them is really, well, she's turned her back, you know. But I get a sense she's kind of unaware. She's just dealing with emotion and going in that direction. And the emotions, they need to be tamed. She's not quite worked with that enough in order to do that. And he's waiting upon her for him to notice. So he's waiting in the background. And, you know, the energy here, I feel, is imaginary. I feel is kind of off in the clouds. But that is the first step in manifesting. So there may be a situation where he can act as if your partner's here and it's directly underneath that visual. So there may be an opportunity where he can manifest things. But I feel like there's a lot on this side. Strong physical and emotional things going on that need to be overcome. So heavy emotional strife here, but nonetheless a soulmate couple that is really, you know, not connecting, you know, and the pain is being felt by the male. So if you are, you know, trying to conquer a Capricorn male at this point, beware that his sights may be on someone else. I mean, I'm getting a sense that for the most part these Capricorns are in that mode, and it will be quite obvious because they will just be going like, no, I don't have time, da da da. It'll be, you know, that their focus will be quite apparent, that they're in one direction and one direction only. So at least distracted where you cannot get their attention. So if you are looking to, you know, chat up a Capricorn male, you may get into the fold, but don't expect any fireworks or any depth because he's really lost and just searching for affection and really not able to give what it takes because his focus and his mind is somewhere else. So kind of like this reading here, we might have just more over the whole sphere of things. We just have an intentive man. He's intent on one woman, and that is his partner, yet the emotions are bound there, but he just cannot seem to gain her attention for nothing, and yet is in great watch over her. So however that works out for him, I feel like patience is the key. I feel like some visualizations will help. I also feel like there's a processing of emotions that need to happen. So if you're looking at a Capricorn male, it's going to be quite obvious where he's sitting. There might be the odd few that are in rebellion, but either way, if they're in denial of their emotions, there's still going to be a hard catch, because they're just not going to be in. They will dabble, and then they will jump out, and you'll get no warning whatsoever. They'll just jump out when the time's right. Don't expect much from these Capricorns, because they're just not in a position where they can give. And if they do give, it's going to be in the one direction that they're hunting for, and yet there's just no catch. They cannot gain access to that woman because she's just completely unavailable. And for the coupled Capricorns, man, honestly, I'm trying to couple this up and it's just not working. We either have a situation here that I was talking about, like if you want to jump in, you're going to get a lot of frisky stuff, but you're not going to get a lot of commitment or deep emotional bonding with this man, because his head is somewhere else. So if you get him physically, that's about all you'll get. You'll get a physical attachment that just will break at any time. My prediction would be to kind of hold off on this guy and let him go after what he's going after. And if you're looking in his direction, I don't think you're that mate, because she's definitely off in her own way. So, sorry, that's just kind of gloomy for the Capricorn men. Not a lot of hints in this way. I mean, there's not a good time to get in there. If you do get in there, it's just really going to be for an ego boost, and there's not going to be much gained of worth. So, sorry, kind of bad news. These are, like I said, these did not turn out the way that I wanted them to turn out, but nonetheless, hopefully giving some insight to some people who can get underneath or avoid, or know when to come in and out of things, or just to strictly understand where they're coming from. There's going to be some surprises for the females, and the males are really kind of obsessing about a partner that they can't seem to grab or hang on to, and also feeling part of that pain but not wanting to deal with that completely. Tips for the females to get into their right: I would say just be true and emotional, and like I say, hang on, because there's a little bit of a roller coaster ride. For the males, leave it alone. If you're going to go in there, I feel like fate and destiny is going to pull a few in for him to deal with along this time, and whatever happens to the queen at that point, I guess, is up to fate. And I feel like that's down the road that will iron out. But for the most part now, I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on, inner turmoil and also inner head. There's dreams here, but a lot of emotions that aren't being dealt with. So if that happens, you're really not going to gain anything from this Capricorn man while he's going through all this stuff. So another one that you just got to kind of just leave him be. So hopefully that helps someone, if not just understand them what their partner's going through, or make things more aware. Again, hopefully the fall will bring better things for the Capricorns. Near the end of the signs here, it just seems to kind of go in the ditch. So hopefully they drag themselves out, and the Capricorn women find and embrace that new love, and the male comes across something that is worth value to him, and also deals with the emotions that he has hibernating within, that he may be in denial of. So that is the reading for the Capricorn for the fall. Couples, take care, have fun, and be kind.